Hello everybody, welcome to Hackitect Playground. Basically new episode which will be about infrastructure as a code. We'll continue in the topic that I started last time. And we will talk first about the CloudFormation anatomy. CloudFormation anatomy is consisting from the different sections of CloudFormation template, which is infrastructure as a code. So for the first section, you need to define the format version, description, and metadata. Very simple. I don't think so that I need to tell you more about that. Parameters are very important, but because that are values to pass to your template at runtime from the user or from AWS, whenever you will choose. Then mappings are keys associated and values that you can specify, and conditional parameter values. For example, for this availability zone, use this image. For another availability zone, use another image. Then the conditions, for example, create these resources for cloud production environment and these resources for the test environment. And then it's transform, which is the serverless application model, and the most important part are resources. Are the cloud resources that you will create in your code, which is API gateway, web application firewall, EC2 instance, blob storages, simple storage service like S3, and last part are outputs, that are the values that are returned after your template or a stack is completed and it's basically deployed. And the values contain, for example, newly created ID of your virtual private cloud. Very useful, and because it's lots of fun, we should deep dive. So let's go together and have some fun. We will travel back today in 2017, especially to July 6th, when AWS released a short article about how to use AWS WAF to mitigate OWASP top 10 web application vulnerabilities. For those who don't know what is OWASP top 10, it's an open web application security project for top 10 vulnerabilities in the web applications. Very simple. If you don't know what is that, you can search on the internet and do your own small homework and research what it is, because in this channel we do not have enough time to show everything. Maybe I will dedicate one of the videos to that, but today we'll talk about web application firewall as code. So if we'll go through this article, there is no need to read everything. There is a template for CloudFormation mitigating OWASP top 10 problems, and there is also very interesting white paper to read if you want to understand the details how to use AWS WAF to mitigate the most common vulnerabilities. But this is major focus on old WAF, because there is WAF version 1, WAF version 2, and this web application firewall in the version 2 works a little bit differently than the first version. The second one works more with the credits for the rules, and the first one may basically work more with the limitation of the amount and number of the rules. You see here there is lots of explanation in the whole PDF about different attacks, how to mitigate them, how to work with the web access control list, with the rules, with the conditions inside the firewall, lots of things. And if you will read carefully, you will find short link in the document and also in the article, which will help you to download the template for your AWS WAF as code in the CloudFormation template. So you can click on that and download it, and basically the same thing can be found on GitHub. Here in GitHub there is a WAF template. You see here that there are different templates for bot blocking, bad behaving, example rules, OWASP top 10, reactive blacklist, reputation list, or Tor blocking. You can go through all of these templates and tips and tricks which are part of the WAF security automations in AWS. But today we'll focus on OWASP top 10 and deploying our own web application firewall. We'll check today together the CloudFormation script. The CloudFormation has one mandatory part, and that are resources. At the beginning of every template there are lots of comments that you can read. It's a the template format version. You see here that it is 2010-99 and the description of the template. You can change the description, for example, Hackitect rules, and basically you can define it whenever you want. You can also define input parameters from the user, and you can specify them here. If you will upload the CloudFormation template in AWS, it will work with our parameters and we can change it there. For example, I can define the prefix of naming resources in the stack. For example, I can change the max length. Maximum is 10. Okay, its maximum is 10 characters, so I will change it to 9. And it's from here, maximum 10 characters. I will decrease the allowed amount of alphanumeric characters only. For example, you can see here that here in this rule there is a type of the action you want to implement in the rules, and the valid options are count or block. We can also allow count and block. Blocking is basically blocking the malicious request. Counting means that you will not block the request, but you will count the amount of potentially dangerous or malicious requests to your web applications. If you want to change the URI prefix which identifies your web root, I can change includes to root, and for example here, I hope that it will be readable for you. This is the URI prefix starting with which identifies your administrative subsite. If you are not using -admin or /admin, you basically need to specify your management interface. I will do management interface, which will be my management interface app, and I can also check my IP address. So I can change this IP address to my current IP. So I will do it in the process when I will upload the template. And then I also can specify the maximum number of bytes allowed in the query string, in the URI, in the body, in the request. So I can basically define what is the maximum size of my request. And also, if I want to specify the custom HTTP request header where the cross-site request forgery, which is specific web application attack, is expected, I can say, okay, my token is the name token, for example, or I can leave it as it is. So basically I can specify the name of my token. Expected header, very simple. So an expected size means the header token value. What will be, this is the name of the token, and then what is the size of the token. Then we have some metadata inside. For example, the parameters, labels, if we would check the parameter labels, basically stack scope, rule action, the FX, admin URL prefix. So these are the things that we already defined, and then some conditions. If it is regional or if it is global, determines if you are working on only region side or if you want to implement WAF in the global scope. And then we have resources, which I say that this is the mandatory section, and this mandatory section defines the rules. For example, SQL injection set is a type of AWS WAF regional SQL injection match, and then you are working with the matching rules, decoding the URI, decoding the query string, decoding the body, decoding the header, and decoding the data from the cookie. So basically you need to decode HTML, URL, and URI to get the proper value of the injection in the web application firewall, because it is sometimes encoded, and hacker can also encode it, so you need to decode it. And that's the thing that you can do with this template. I will not go through all the rules, but you will just quickly check. You see here there's a comment in the front of every rule telling you what is this defining. This one is against the hijacking or blacklisting JWT tokens or session IDs, identifying the JWT token signature with the target string at the end of the signature, which is this one. And it easily identifies basically the token. And then if you will decode with base 64, the previous parts of the token, you can get the clear data of JWT, and it's a very interesting attack. But maybe another time. And then I will just scroll a little bit through the rules. You see that there is some detect XSS, it's cross-site scripting attack, and AWS is having predefined protection for cross-site scripting, SQL injection, and path traversal attacks, which you can use out of the box. The problem is that it is a little bit black box, so you cannot change the rules, you cannot work with too much shaping it to your needs. So that's one of the problems that I see here with this kind of template. We can go through all of these things. You see that there are so many things, and which is interesting, it's a blacklist. You can define the blacklist or allowed or not allowed addresses, and you can put it in the S3 bucket and basically feed it to WAF. So there are lots of interesting options how to automate incident response or how to automate your response to different attacks. You can blacklist or you can change or allow specific IP addresses when your environment changes. But here we are defining that as code. We can see here that the IP set match blacklisted IPs. So basically the blacklisted IPs are these ones. They are not allowed, and these IP addresses should not be allowed to access the content. And then you can put their IP set descriptors with a CIDR description. And that's basically all. You see that we are working with WebACL. WebACL contains the rules, and the rules are containing the conditions. That's the hierarchy of how AWS WAF is working. At the end of the template, we have outputs, which are defining what will be printed out from this template, and this can be consumed by another template. You can create different cloud formation stacks, they can communicate with each other. You can basically take the rules from the WAF, store it somewhere, or one of your services can use it, or you can basically take the addresses, print your blacklisted IP addresses and feed it in, for example, S3 bucket or DynamoDB, whenever you will work with as a dynamic database of your IP addresses. So different options. And that's all for checking what is in the template. Let's deploy it. Now, hello. So let's create a stack together. We can have active, complete, failed, deleted, or in progress stack. Let's click on create stack, and I will upload my own template. I already did that to speed the deployment. This is OWASP top 10 base YAML. Template is ready. You can create it in Designer. Basically, you can view it in Designer. If I will click on Designer, I can see all the dependencies and all the elements in the CloudFormation template. I can also check the components like the parameters, mappings, conditions, metadata, and outputs that I already described earlier in this session to tell you more about the template for OWASP top 10. We can close it. We can also do some small changes. I will close it and leave. I will not save any change, and create a stack and template, upload the file, choose the file again. It looks that it kicked me out. Next. Then the parameters, stack name, OWASP WAF, Hackitect, and then we can do some small changes. For example, admin, it's not management. That's my, for example, if I don't have /admin, I'll have /management. I will check what's my IP. I will copy the IP and change it to my IP. And also my root directory will be root. Then next, for example, environment will be production. I will add new tag, name, WAF. Okay, name, and these are tags. We can add some roles, tag policies, rollback configurations, termination protection. We can subscribe to SNS topics, lots of different features, but not today. We are just trying to showcase the web application firewall as a code deployment. Then click on next, and we should see all the parameters that we described: root, management, the IP address, which is the admin remote access, and the tags. Okay, that's very easy. And then click on create stack. When I click on Create Stack, the status is in Create in Progress. Then it will continue in the different stages and it will deploy a full stack of this WAF as a code. And we can check the stack info, which is stack ID, description, the status of it, when it was created, when it was deleted, if you delete that, and the tags. You can also modify the tags if you want. Then the events, basically you can monitor what is going on. We see here the rules which are deployed, which also resources are created. For example, when the resource is created, you see the message create complete. Amazing. Then if the outputs will be created, we will see them. Then the parameters, that's the user defined parameters that we changed. Then the template itself, again you can view it in Designer, and change sets, basically the change monitoring for this stack. Let's go to events. Let's go to resources. New resources are created. Stack info is still running and it will take some time. So I will pause the video. You can see, you can refresh it and you can see what was created. But I will pause the video and we'll wait for when it will be created. So some time is already out and we need to check what happens with our stack. Create is complete. Events are showing that create is complete also, and the resources are completed also too. Outputs, and we see here the outputs created by the CloudFormation. Access rule, ID, generic admin access, the whitelist, blacklist. So all of these things are outputted from the CloudFormation and it creates this value for us. Then parameters, template, change set are the same, but outputs are important because they are created after the creation is complete. Then we can go and check how the WAF is created. So we can click on services and we can click on WAF and shield. So click on WAF and shield and we should see our WAF created. I will go switch to classic WAF and we need to select the right region. In this case it should be Ireland because we were working in Ireland before and it is regional ACL. So we created this web ACL and this is generic OWASP ACL. And we can see also the monitoring of the requests and the rules that we created. If we will go and click, for example, to the bad tokens, insecure path traversal, admin access, I think that it should be here. Here is the word management that we basically defined that should be basically blocked or filtered from this IP address. So that's one of the rules that we changed and defined, and we can also very carefully check all of these rules and check what it filters. If in the header is this string after decoding and cookie contains example session ID after decoding as URL, it contains this, you can count or block. Then you see that you have different condition types like cross-site scripting, geo-matching, IP addressing, size constraints, SQL injection, and string and regex matching. So different types of the conditions which can be used in the rules that we defined, and these rules are parts of the web ACL. So this is the logic behind the AWS WAF, and that's also the thing that you should define in your CloudFormation script or CloudFormation code. So thank you today for watching, and I enjoyed. I hope you too, and I hope also that you learn some new things. Thank you everyone for watching my videos. I really enjoy to create the content for you. I'm really thankful everyone who supports me. So I really cannot express myself enough to be really thankful for having opportunity in this really hard time to create some quality content for everyone in the internet. If you like my videos, you can connect with me on LinkedIn, or if you want to know more, put some comments in the video and I will try to read them. If you are interested in some topics, I can prepare the content or videos for you. Small spoiler, I'm preparing something very special for you because I've solved more than 50 different interviews and I want to share all the knowledge how to recognize the lies, how to recognize the important parts of interview and how to answer the questions from the basic to advanced. So I'm really looking forward for that because it will be a short series of tips and tricks how to get into cybersecurity, what are the pits of and what are the traps of the interviews in cybersecurity field, and I'm really looking forward for that. I'm really excited to create such a content. So thank you so much and see you next time.